Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here to Lime Rock Park as we're set for playoff race number 5 and race number 31 of the 2025 edition of the WRA Oreo Cup Series. This is the middle race of the round of 12 here at Lime Rock Park. Going to be a very interesting 15 laps of no caution, so that should make things a little interesting as far as this race is concerned. Scarlett Wallace on the pole position. She is a go-or-go-homer. She raced her way into today's race via the go-or-go-home qualifying session. She is alongside of Skylar Taylor, who comes into this race 13 points above the 8th position of the points cut line in that race. William Davis in row number 2. William Davis did not make the playoffs. He's 21st in the point standings, and he is alongside of Josh Harmon, who comes in that critical 8th position in the points entering this middle race. So there you go. Yuki Yamamoto will complete your top 5. She's also a go-or-go-home driver who raced her way in earlier this morning. We're going to show you the rest of the starting lineup, find out where the rest of your playoff drivers are starting. And before these cars roll off, we're going to go over the playoff standings. Eric Stanbury, regardless what happens today and next week's race at Coca-Cola, he's locked into the next round. So the focus will be shifted from 2nd to 12th. Sean Art comes in this race 2nd in points. He comes in this race 22 points above the 8th position of the points cut line. 13 points, as I mentioned, is Skylar Taylor. Baby CJ is 10 points above the cut line in 4th. Chris Wascher, 8 points above the cut line in 5th. Kyler Anderson is 7 points above the cut line in 6th. N Crenshaw, 1 point above the cut line in 7th. Josh Harmon is in that critical 8th position in the points cut line. Bradley Ream, 5 points below the cut line in 9th. Reggie Fogleman, 6 points below the cut line in 6th. Daniel Woodard, 7 points below the cut line in 11th. And Marinella DeLeon is 8 points below the cut line. We're going to make sure these drivers roll off. That's why we have it on none, as they've already been given the 1 to go signal. Ingrid Pollard starting at the rear of the field. She is another driver who raced her way into this race via the go-or-go-home session. As we're going to go green flag racing next time by.
You're switching games like crazy, aren't you? Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
The drivers who raced their way in, can you make sure the volume's not too loud, Brian? So, because I'm recording right now. The 6 drivers who raced their way in. Of course, we mentioned Scarlett Wallace and Yuki Yamamoto. Those 2 raced their way in. Morgan Le Fay raced her way into this race via the go-or-go-home session. Brittany White also raced her way in via go-or-go-home session. So did Carolina Bradley and, of course, the aforementioned Ingrid Pollard. I see somebody have any mechanical problems? Yeah. No, I'm just seeing dust. Okay, never mind.
Yes. This game is scoreless, so. Horse shit. Somebody score a damn goal. I think that. Let me see if I can.
It is time for the running of the Motel Grand Prix here at Charlotte. The Motel 100 Synthetic Grand Prix is what this race will be called. And the green flag is out. We're racing here at Lime Rock. This is the middle race of the round of 12. We will have 5 more races to go in the season. This will set us up for what will be an interesting elimination race next week at Coca-Cola. Because after next week's race, we will have already cut our playoff grid down in half. And when the checker flag waves, 4 drivers will be eliminated from the playoffs next week at Coca-Cola. It's an RCR 1-2, William Davis in second, Scarlett Wallace leading, and she'll lead the first lap here at Lime Rock.
Panthers, Devils are on. Islanders are on. Yeah, I'm watching that film.
Check the back of the field here. Daniel Witter back here at the rear of the field. Daniel Witter came in this race 7 points below the cut line. This is not where she needs to be. N Fryman, who was recently eliminated from the playoffs. Ingrid Pollard's back here at the rear of the field. Kyler Anderson's also back here at the rear of the field. Kyler was 7 points above the cut line coming into this race as William Davis trying to get around the United Rentals Chevy Camaro. These two are teammates at RCR. William Davis, who is a full-time driver in this series. Scarlett Wallace just running the All-Star 33. Skylar Taylor running in third. She, I believe, is the highest of the playoff drivers. Yes, she is. She came in this race, as I said, a total of 13 points above the cut line. We had some skid marks over here in turn number... Oh, N Fryman's torn up. Brooke Paquette must have been involved in whatever this one is. Let's go ahead and pause and see what happened to Brooke Paquette, as she has a lot of damage to the Monster Energy Toyota Camry SXE. Oh my God, N Fryman went through the wall. Let's see what happened here. Kyler Anderson got a bit tight. Remember, it's 90-something degrees with a 108 track temp. And it looks like the 51 got a bit tight, pushed up into the 54. And, oh my word, Fryman got stuck. He is outside the fence, and Kyler Anderson got swept up in it. That's a playoff contender. And Daniel Witter had to slow down not to run in the back of the Walmart Ford Mustang Dark Horse. Goodness me. That's big for Kyler Anderson, as William Davis is going to try to take the lead from his teammate Scarlett Wallace.
That's it. That was backfired.
And Kyler was, as I said, 7 points above the cut line. He's going to be in a very precarious position going into our elimination race next week, unless we have more attrition that takes part. And new leader is the Bet MGM Chevy Camaro of William Davis. Got some more dust kicked up. Daniel Witter's having a bad run. Fryman's day is done. That's a tough break. And do I see damage on Reggie Fogleman's car? Yes, I do. He's got a bit of a hood buckle on his number 10. Let's see what happened to the 10. That's another playoff contender involved. Oh, he got hit, Annie Crenshaw. Oh, this must have been with... Oh. Looks like Crenshaw got on the throttle too much and just rammed over the Rush Truck Center's Ford Mustang Dark Horse. That was very unlike naughty of Annie Crenshaw doing that to Reggie Fogleman. Not sure why the 22 did that to the 10, but that didn't do either of them any bit of good. Fogleman came in race 6 points below the cut line. Crenshaw was 1 measly point above the cut line, so Annie Crenshaw didn't do herself any bit of favors by doing that to Fogleman. Now Fogleman's got a torn up race car. There's some damage to Ian Dutta's machine. Sean Art second in points back here at the rear of the field. Sean came into this race 22 points above the cut line. There's Annie Crenshaw. Yeah, she's got a bit of a hood buckle on her Shell Pennzoil Ford Mustang Dark Horse. And in the words of Cody Smart, that would be male abuse for Crenshaw. Eric Sadler looks like he got a little hood buckle on his United Rentals Ford Mustang Dark Horse. Samad Ozkan, Cody Smart, 2 drivers who were recently eliminated from the playoffs. There's a little bit of a hood buckle on Eric Stanbury's machine. That's another playoff driver battling with K Wascher. The good news for Eric Stanbury, he's got nothing to lose. Since he's already won his way into the round of 8, he can definitely ill afford a poor finish today. K Wascher, on the other hand, not so fortunate. He comes in this race 8 points above the cut line. So if you're Eric Stanbury with the damage, there's Marinelli Dillion right behind Carolina Bradley. For Eric Stanbury, he can definitely ill afford a poor finish here today. For everybody else, on the other hand, that were like 20-something points above the cut line, this is going to put them in a very precarious position going into our elimination race next week. And who did I just see in that inside wall? Oh, Eric Sadler, and I think that's Crenshaw. Yes, it is. Annie Crenshaw had caused another incident again. Let's see, who did she cause? Wow, she carried too much speed and just ran over Eric Sadler. Oh, wow, just impaled Eric Sadler in the tire wall. I'm not so sure. Wow, just shoved Eric Sadler deep in the tire wall. Hope Eric Sadler's okay. I really am not sure what the deal is with Annie Crenshaw causing these 2 incidents that were very avoidable, in my opinion. That's a tough break for her as she's still trying to get back on the track. And remember, Annie Crenshaw came in this race 1 point above the cut line, So this will definitely put her below the cut line. Let's see where the rest of our playoff drivers is. Crenshaw is now 2 laps down. Fryman and Sadler are now back behind the wall out of the race. Skylar Taylor, currently the highest playoff contender, in 2nd. Good run for Fitzy running in 5th. Josh Harmon in 6th. Remember, Josh Harmon came in this race in that critical 8th position in the points as far as the cut line is concerned. So that's 2 of our playoff contenders. Good run for S Askraov. Let's see where the rest of our playoff drivers are running. Bradley Ream, who came in this race 5 points below the cut line as Crenshaw goes another lap down. Bradley Ream in 14th. Marinelli Dillion in 17th. K Wascher in 20th. Eric Stanbury in 23rd. Doesn't matter to Eric Stanbury. He can definitely ill afford a poor finish today since he's already in the next round of the playoffs. Looking further on down, Sean Art 34th, Daniel Witter 35th. And remember, Daniel Witter had a poor finish at last week's race. Is Daniel Witter going into next week's race in a must-win situation? Possibly. Daniel Witter could find herself possibly going into Coca-Cola in a must-win situation as Annie Crenshaw continues to lose more laps. Kyler Anderson 7 points above the cut line, 37th. Reggie Fogleman 39th. Annie Crenshaw 40th. And that's it for the 12 drivers in the playoffs. And with Marinelli Dillion where she's running, she's going to be in a very precarious position going into our elimination race next week at Coca-Cola.
No, it didn't walk.
William Davis trying to get Richard Childress Racing their first win on the season. And unlike Austin Dillon at Richmond last year, have this win count as not an encumbered win. Of course, the 3 did not make the playoffs. And William Davis came in this race 5th of the drivers that did not make the playoffs, 21st to be exact. And prior to this race, he's only led 8 laps so far. And it looks like Annie Crenshaw is teleported to pit road. She is like 5 laps down. This is going to hurt Annie Crenshaw. And Skylar Taylor was the 3rd best of the playoffs. She had a good run last week. I think we can safely say I think we have our second driver, regardless what happens. Wait, where's Baby CJ running? He's running in 13th. Okay. I forgot a playoff driver. Sorry, Baby CJ. Baby CJ came into this race 10 points above the cut line. I think he's going to be sitting in a very good position going into our elimination race. But I think Skylar Taylor, with her second place finish, I think Skylar Taylor is going to be another one of those drivers as the white flag is out. 1 more lap to go, sponsored by Credit One Bank. I think Skylar Taylor we can confirm no matter what happens next week, as long as she doesn't get involved in the big one, Skylar Taylor will be another driver who will advance into the Elite 8. As William Davis in the BetMGM Chevrolet Camaro out of Richard Childress Racing. It's been a difficult season for him, but he's going to be happy after this race is over, because off of turn 7 for the final time to win the Motel Grand Prix at Lime Rock, William Davis will get his first career Oreo Cup Series win, winning here today at Lime Rock, just as he put Reggie Fogleman 1 lap down. And like the first round, only one playoff driver won in either the first or the second race. I have a feeling the round of 8, a playoff driver will win the elimination race. A great win for William Davis. Standings are going to be official because there is no cautions. Going to wait for the standings to be official, and they are now official. Yuki Yamamoto got around Skylar Taylor for second, but that's still a good run for a go-or-go homer. Skylar Taylor will be finished in 3rd. She is the highest of the playoff drivers, and she was one of the highest playoff drivers last week at Kansas. I think Skylar Taylor, regardless what happens next week, I think Skylar Taylor's sitting in a good position to advance to the Elite Eight. Scarlett Wallace started on pole, will finish in fourth. Still a good run for her. Good run for Fitzy. These road courses have been his bread and butter as he will come home in the fifth position. Josh Harmon in sixth. That's a critical run for Josh Harmon. He gave his race that critical eighth position, the points cut line. He will definitely get away from eighth position, the points. Brittany White in seventh, Evan Ritchie eighth, ninth is Ian Griffin, and Chase Brooks will complete your top 10. So we only had 2 playoff drivers inside the top 10 as far as the playoff drivers are concerned. Where did the other 10 finish? CJ Bracken, 12th. Good run for baby CJ. CJ came into this race 10 points above the cut line. This will definitely grow his gap between himself and 8th position, the points. Bradley Riemann, 15th. He was 5 points below the cut line. The good news for him, he finished ahead of a number of playoff drivers who ran into trouble today, so he'll definitely get above the cut line. Marinelli DeLeon was 12th of the 12 playoff drivers. Where does 16th put her in the going in the elimination race next week? K Wascher, 19th. Eric Stanbury, 23rd. Fortunately for Eric, he can afford a poor finish because he won last week's race at Kansas, so he can definitely ill afford a poor finish today. So, and also ill afford a poor finish next week because he's already locked into the next round, regardless what happens. Look on down through the rest of the finishing results. This is where I get a little concerned. Daniel Woodard, 33rd. Tough break for Ingrid Pollard. Did not make up any positions in this race. Only ended up 32nd. That's a bit of a shame for her. Daniel Woodard, 33rd. And she didn't have a good finish last week. Oh boy, Daniel Witter could be heading into Coca-Cola next week in a must-win situation. Sean Art, second in points, 35th. He came into this race 22 points above the cut line. Where's this going to situate Sean? Kyler Anderson was 7 points above the cut line. Where will 36 put him? Reggie Fogleman finished the lap down, as I mentioned, and he was below the cut line by 6 points. Ooh, Fogleman could also be another driver facing a must-win situation next week at Coca-Cola. And Annie Crenshaw was 1 point above the cut line. She will definitely be below the cut line after this race, as she was the last car to finish the race. 38 drivers finished on the lead lap. Ian Dutto, the last of them. Eric Sadler and Nathan Fryman, the only 2 drivers who did not reach the conclusion of this race. But hope you guys enjoyed today's race here at Lime Rock Park. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to become part of the World Racing Association crew today. I can tell you the elimination race next week at Coca-Cola is going to be really spicy, if you ask me. Which we have shown you your full finish results. Your point standings are down in the description. Keep an eye on the gap above 8th and below 8th in the standings going into Coca-Cola next week, because when the checker flag waves next week at Coca-Cola, we will sadly say goodbye to 4 drivers who will see their championship hopes go kabam, just like that. We'll see you guys next week at Coca-Cola for our second elimination race. Until then, I've been DeVille signing off as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the World Racing Association, the greatest racing since 2013.